So where were we? We've done levels, done colour balance, we cropped, we're going to do a bit of retouching. So as great as Melina is, a few little bits and bobs we can get rid of that are not unsightly, but we tend to, what I want to do with retouching is, what I want to do is take stuff away that's like, catches the eye, that's, you know, your eye's drawn to it instead of the bigger picture. So what I would do is, quite a simple process, bit of skin retouching, maybe a bit of smoothing, just to make things look a bit more delicate and a bit more natural. Quite often with the lots of lights and the high-res cameras, things look a bit different to what they actually look in real life. Plus, when you look at somebody in real life, you don't stare at them like you stare at a photograph. So my process for this, again, feel free to make your own up, but this works for me, gives me lots of control, which is the main thing we're looking to do. So if I grab the background and make a copy of that, and I'm going to zoom in, and just using the healing tool, I'm just going to take a few blemishes off. Just click on there, resize it to fit, hold down Alt, select the bit I want to take away, and do that. And I'm just going to go around Melina's figure a little bit and just clean up a little bit of those really obvious blemishes, which are not unnatural or unsightly, just a little distracting. And again, you can do as much or as little as this as you want. Sometimes you start going and wish you'd not, because you get a little bit carried away or you do it wrong. You get a bad sample. But generally speaking, take you a couple of minutes just to whiz round. You'll notice as well I'm using a Wacom tablet just because it's easier to use a pen. This is a nightmare using a mouse doing this. But again, it's whatever suits you. And as you can see, that was a pretty quick process, wasn't it? Might just get rid of that freckle there because it's a little distracting. By freckle, like that. And then that's it. That's all I'm going to do from a skin retouch point of view. But what I am also going to do is add a little bit of smoothness back to her skin. Because having met Melina, I know she doesn't look like this really in the flesh. So, because we're using a model called non-destructive editing, what that means is we don't destruct our originals. I'm going to make another layer. So if I decide to come back later because I've made an error or want to change something, I can go back to the layer beneath, do the edit, then go again. If I keep putting loads and loads of stuff on one layer and then realise 10 steps back I made a mistake, I'm kind of stuck with what I've got. So every little thing you do, every little edit you make, go on to another layer so you can adjust it, delete it, fix it later. So again, Command J or drag it in into the plus sign and make a new layer. And again, what I'm going to do this time, I'm going to add some Gaussian blur. Now I use Gaussian blur because it's a tried and trusted way of making skin smooth. But to control it, what we do is we put loads on. We put more on than we'd ever need, and then we gradually take it off to allow us a lot of, a big degree of control in what we're doing. So making sure we're on the correct layer, filter, blur, Gaussian blur. You'll see mine's preset to 15 pixels. That's because I use it a lot, and that's what I always use on people. You can see if I put more on, what happens. I'll probably just kill my computer now. Yeah, it's all gone nuts, look. That'll take 5 minutes to come back, so we'll just wait for that to come back. But what you're doing is, you're looking to just disguise the skin slightly. 15%. Now you can see that's horrible. Clearly, that's horrible. While we're working on this, I'm going to reduce the opacity of that layer down to about 40, because then we can still see what we're doing. Just like that. But we can still see some of the effect. But what we need to do is, if you look at it, everything on Melina is now blurry. Her eyes are blurry, her lips are blurry, her bra straps are blurry. No good to anybody. So we need to take the effect off on those areas. And we do that by applying something called a mask. M-A-S-K. So, clicked on the right layer, this little camera looking gizmo here, third from the left, next to the FX, and before the semicircle with the black and white. Click on that, and you'll see it's punched a white hole on that layer. Now, so long as you clicked in that layer, and over here on your layer, on your colour palette, you got black and white. So long as you're set to black, you can rub out any of this you want using the paintbrush. Paintbrush is over here on this panel, or you can press B on your keyboard. You can see I've had a bit of a paintbrush thing going on before, so I'm just going to reset mine to normal. General brushes, like that. Take all the hardness off so it's a nice soft edge brush. And the reason we want soft edges, take that off so it's a soft edge brush. And the reason we want soft edges is because when we're up against an edge, an example, let's look at the bra strap. We need to have a nice fine line like that. Nice soft edge. If I have my brush set to hardness, you can see it's really brutal. We don't want that. Edit undo that. Make sure your brush has the hardness all the way off. So you make your brush just slightly bigger than the bit you're brushing out. Now you might be thinking, I can't see anything, Lance, I don't know what you've done. If I press backslash on the keyboard, you can see where I've gone. And wherever that's active now, you can see anywhere that's red, because I've got the backslash to show me the mask. Anywhere that's red is taking off that effect of the softness. So if I switch off the softness, look, off, on, off, on. If I paint out Melina's eyes now, like so, and you can see where I've gone, and then her eyebrows, like that. You can see now that it's sharp again, whereas it wasn't before. Her eyes are still sharp. So the idea is, you can round everything on the picture you want to be sharp. So for example, her nostrils would be sharp. Sometimes you have to be a little careful when you're getting close to bits that you want to be soft and stuff you want to be sharp. What I might do here is put the opacity on the actual brush itself down to 50% so it's not as brutal. I might have to go over things a couple of times just to make it, just to get enough in there. Where the lips meet the skin, it's good to go for a low opacity brush. And then you can always have a couple of passes over it to make sure you get all the blur off. You can see when you've gone over things a few times because the red gets darker. You can see that. If I do one pass there, it's not very dark. If I go again, look, see it darken up. So for bits where you think you might want some softness to remain, like there, finger ends, I would normally go with a low opacity brush, maybe 40%, 50%, just to enable me to do that. So this is probably the longest process of the lot, but trust me, it's worth it. And I'm just gonna blast around the whole thing really quickly. I mean, I wouldn't do this if I was doing it properly, but let's imagine I am doing it properly because I want perfection for my pictures. I would be really zoomed in, I'll be doing everything really tight. Then a bit that doesn't really matter is the backdrop. You can brush that out as quickly or as slowly as you want. But the idea is get in there, get your brush as fine as you can, make it as, you know, fine-tuned as you can, because the more you do that, that was quicker than I thought, the more you do that, the better quality your picture will be. So you can see now that I've done that and I've got a nice red Melina where I've gone round with the brush and made a mask, and the only bits that now have the blur on are her skin. And you can see that if you look particularly around the face and the neck, you can see the blur still there. Now at this point you can decide, well actually Lance, we're at 40% there, but it's probably too much still. So you can either click into the opacity, use your arrow up and down key plus pressing in shift, and you can reduce 10% like I've just done there. You can see Melina's gone really blurry now. Or you can leave it like I did, and the bits where you think there might be a little bit too much, just click on your brush, get your brush tool, drop the opacity on the brush and just lightly brush out what you don't want, like that. And that's it for skin retouching. So a quick recap, we did blemishes on one layer, the background layer copy on my palette. Once we were happy with that, we made a copy of that. We put a 15% Gaussian blur on, we added a layer mask, and then using the paintbrush tool we brushed out the areas where we didn't want them to be blurred to reveal a nice soft skin, well lit Melina. And the next stage from that is I want a little bit more contrast. Now I've been looking at this picture for a while. I've looked at the lighting, I've looked at where things are. I just want to add a little bit more contrast, and you'll see why I want to do that in a minute. So on the next part, it's going to be contrast adding just in the same space.